garden. This basil has been grown entirely indoors up until now. It really needs to be pruned because it's starting to flower. Once your basil starts to flower, it's not going to produce as many leaves. It's going to focus all its energy on these flowers and then eventually producing seed. So if you want seed, go ahead and let them bloom. They have beautiful little white flowers. But if you want a larger harvest, you're going to want to remove all of this flower stem. So you can use a pruners or a scissors, but the plants are soft enough to actually just pinch them off. I left these larger leaves to continue to grow, but I want to remove every little bit of flower. So this little bud, these are actually 2 individual flowers. And these you can eat. So when I'm doing this, I usually just snack on the little flowers. But now the rest of the plant is really going to benefit. It's going to focus all of its energy on producing new leaves. And if you get another flower head, just pinch that one off as well. The next thing I like to do is pinch off the very largest leaves. These are really perfectly ready to harvest right now, and they're not going to get any larger. And these are just perfect. These are so big you could put them on a sandwich just basically as lettuce. Or they're great to process down into pesto. But by removing these larger leaves, the plant is again going to focus on that new growth to produce brand new leaves. Or the smaller leaves here are going to get more sun and get much larger. So I'm just going to go around the entire plant now and get a big harvest. We can take these leaves here, this one, these ones. You could probably harvest some of these lower leaves too. And doing this method of just taking the larger leaves is a great way to regenerate your plant quickly. Since we're not cutting them back, they don't have to focus on forking and growing 2 new points of growth. All the growth is already here, it just has to fill back in. So we can do the same thing with all of our plants, and we'll actually get quite a big harvest. Even if you don't have flowers, you can pinch off the entire top. Doesn't matter that there's a little bit of stem. This is going to be tender, have tons of flavor, and more importantly, where we took the cutting, it's going to fork. Let's take a closer look and see what's already growing. Just under where we pinched off the top, there are new leaves. Even over here on the left, you can just see the first leaves starting to form. So in total, we've probably taken about half of the leaves, but we're not quite done yet. I'm going to take some of these stems as cuttings, and these can just root in water. So I like to take about 5 or 6 inch segments. I'm going to cut them just above where it forks down here, and those will fill back in. It doesn't really matter that these don't have a lot of leaves. That's actually going to benefit them because they're not going to be transpiring as much water, which means they don't need to absorb as much water to keep those leaves alive. If the leaves are starting to wilt on your cuttings, you can cover them with a plastic bag. That'll trap in a little extra moisture and should keep them going. This can be especially useful in the first couple days, but after that I like to uncover them and allow the leaves to dry out and breathe a little bit. But just look at that harvest, it's incredible. We've also taken a few stem cuttings, and those are going to root and become brand new plants. And in about 2 weeks' time, our old plants will have filled back in and we can harvest again. My secret to growing healthy basil is to give it as much sun as possible and to water from the bottom. I use these little bowls as basins, they can actually hold quite a bit of water. So instead of watering from the top, which can actually spread disease, we can keep the soil dry and just water from the bottom. That's where the roots are anyways. If your basil is especially thirsty, the leaves will droop, and you can actually watch as they drink the water up. It's incredible. So I'll top up this basin 3 or 4 times until they've really had their fill. So I'm going to bring in our harvest, and we might do a batch of pesto, but I'm going to keep some of these larger leaves just for sandwiches. The cuttings can just go in a sunny window, and we want to keep them topped up with fresh water. So if you want to see my pesto recipe, you can click right over here. And if you want to see last year's basil, you can click over here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.